Are you ready to build the spiritual house of your dreams and reveal the true goal of your soul? This is Home Improvement for the Soul.
Hello, and welcome to Home Improvement for the Soul. I'm Maddie Cheers. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a new look. It's a new year. It's a new soul. So I thought today that we would open our New Year's resolution show with actually a shift in thinking. Rather than New Year's resolutions, like setting all those goals that so many of us set and then we never get to them and then we feel bad about ourselves, I think we need to think about this as New Year's evolution. I just think that's a better outlook. And I looked up what the number one and number two and number three and number four and number five resolutions were. But the number one and number two really struck me. Number one, especially for women, is to lose weight. And I really thought about this and I thought, instead of the idea of losing weight, which comes from a place of lack, I lack what I need to look good. I lack what I have to be healthy. We want to focus on what we have now. I mean, there's a great instruction from the Haudenosaunee that the first thing people have to learn to do is to be grateful for what we have and not worried about what we don't have. So I think if we shift that idea a little, that we need to lose the weight, that looking at how do I nourish myself? How do I nourish my soul? A long time ago, not that long a time ago, but about 10 years ago, I had made a New Year's resolution to finish my book, which is finally finished and coming out on International Women's Day. But I'd made that New Year's resolution. I was going to finish the book in the first 3 months, and by August, I had not done it. So I decided to take myself on a retreat, and I went to a beautiful place. I went to Cuba, New Mexico, gorgeous retreat center called the Circle A Ranch, where you bring your own food, and at the time, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no cell service, you really had to be there and get down to doing what you wanted to do. And so I did do a lot of writing, but one of the other things I did was just sit in all this beauty. I developed a relationship with the aspen trees. The aspen trees, to me, they're just amazing. These are the trees that actually survive and thrive because of fires. And they're gorgeous, and their leaves make this beautiful sound. Their leaves are shaped like hearts. So when the wind blows through them, the sound is just enchanting. And just the beauty of that area of being up there in the high desert. And I got to see a cinnamon bear, and I got to walk around and see the beautiful hummingbirds, so many hummingbirds, which of course have tremendous meaning. Bears have tremendous meaning as a symbol and as a teacher of courage, a teacher of strength, a teacher of family. Hummingbirds teach us to connect with the Creator. They remind us that we can do the impossible. Here are these little tiny birds that shouldn't even be able to fly, and yet they do. So what I found that was so interesting was I didn't eat much. I actually did not, and believe me, I like food. I come from a background of using food to soothe myself, using food to make myself calm, make myself happy. I have my favorite foods like toast and tea. Oh, when I'm sick, reminds me of my mom. Chicken soup. I'm also very big on pie. Love pie. But I mean, I was definitely that kind of personality that would use food to make myself feel better, to soothe myself. So I'm up there in this beautiful place for 4 days, and I realized when I looked at the food that I had brought, I realized that I had barely eaten any of it, maybe like half of what I brought. And when I was talking to my friend Marianne, who's been on the show, Marianne Francisi, who is a family therapist and a creative arts therapist, but more importantly, my dear, dear friend and part of my major support network of humans, Marianne said, well, you didn't have to because you were nourished by everything around you, by nature, by your prayers, by your experiences with being able to meditate, being able to write anytime you wanted to. With the quiet, it's a big retreat center. I mean, not huge, but fairly big. It's got many rooms for people. And at that time of year, it was only me and one other guy who was a writer who was there, and the woman that owns the place, who was a sweetheart. And that was it. So there was very little human contact. So when I looked at that about how everybody wants to lose weight, especially women, that's one of their main resolutions, I thought, you know what? What we really need to do is look at how can we nourish our souls. And I think that when I look back over the story of my life, when I look back at having to overcome sexual abuse, the trauma of sexual abuse, which I didn't even know. I didn't even realize that happened. That memory came rushing back to me at a time when I was driving. I was actually driving, listening to a talk show, listening to a woman talk about her recognition, her realization that she had suffered childhood sexual abuse and how it just rocked her world, as of course it would. It rocked mine in that moment. I started shivering and shaking. I had to pull the car off the road. I was on a highway when this happened. I'm crying, I'm shivering, I'm shaking. And when I look back from the journey of that realization to where I am now at 70 years old, to be able to do the things that I can do, I recognize that it was people that helped to nourish me. It was my beloved therapist that helped to heal me, my Celeste Carlin, who suggested first that I start drawing mandalas. I couldn't meditate. I couldn't meditate in the traditional way because I would just go away. And so she suggested that I started doing these mandala meditations where I would draw the mandalas. And then what was so amazing about that is those 2 lines of poetry would come into my head while I was drawing, and I would know this was some message. This was a connection to the Creator. This was a connection to the divine world. And as my sister Celia Kibler always calls it, divine downloads. And that is what it is. And that experience nourished my soul. That experience of doing those drawings not only helped to heal me, and not only helped to give me a place where I could go and find relief from my anxiety. I would have anxiety attacks for seemingly no reason, almost crazy. I ordered the wrong T-shirts one time, and rather than think that I could return them, I popped up in the middle of the night at like 3 o'clock in the morning, panic-stricken. That, oh my God, I got the wrong T-shirts. What am I going to do? Am I going to owe this money? Can I go back? Can I, what? It just nonsense stuff, crying. Woke up, my husband at the time woke up, myself. Probably, I was living in an apartment, and until I calmed down, I probably woke up the people downstairs from me. But you don't think about that. When you're in the middle of an anxiety or a panic attack, none of that matters. You're not thinking outside yourself. And what doing that practice, what drawing those mandalas gave to me was a way of going inside myself and healing. And then to realize that I was gifted with this voice of the divine, dictating these messages that at first were all about, I'm sure those original poems were all about healing myself. When I first received those messages, that is nourishment. And then I could go to do those drawings rather than grab a piece of cake or feel like I had to fill up something inside of me that was missing. I could go to doing the practice of that drawing. And then it very quickly, excuse me, need some water. It very quickly, water, healing, nourishing. But it very quickly became a situation where I was able to also recognize how important it was for me to be in nature. Celeste did this amazing thing with me where she asked me to bring in things, smells, touches, things that helped me feel grounded. And so I did. And fall is my favorite time of year. And to this day, when I smell fall, I could pick up those leaves, crush them, pick up dirt. And if ever I'm feeling a little off kilter, then boom, I can smell that. I can put that in my hands. I can go take a walk in the woods. I'm very, very, very fortunate to live on the water. I can walk through my backyard. And when I was challenged with Lyme disease and couldn't move my head, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything, little by little, my relationship with being able to even stand and look outside the window, my relationship with being able to draw, I could still do my drawings. I could still hear my poems. I could still write. All of that is nourishing. And all of that takes us to a place, whatever that nourishment for the soul is that we find, it takes us to a place that can truly heal us. As we all know, all of those of us, especially women who have been yo-yo dieters over the years, because we never feel like we look the right way, we never feel like our makeup's right, we have to buy more makeup, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I'm so grateful that younger people, younger women especially, are changing that idea. But it's still out there, that idea that we have to look a certain way. You look at every celebrity, you watch any runway entrance to any of the award shows, and everybody is looking like $1 million, because they have millions of bucks, and that's why they can look like $1 million to begin with. If we could all go to the gym every day for 3 hours every day, but would that really nourish your soul? Is that what you really need to be the healthiest you can be? It's not what I needed, and I taught fitness for a long time. And I did love teaching certain aspects of it. I loved teaching aerobic dance. I was a dancer, and I loved the spontaneous dancing. There were aspects of it that I loved. I certainly loved teaching dance with kids. I definitely love all of that work and all of that expression, that self-expression that you can bring to children. I think storytelling for me is nourishing. I think the most important New Year's resolution that any of us can make is to leave the resolutions behind, certainly leave the timing behind, and evolve into that place where we're saying to ourselves, this is what I need to do to be a dreamer. This is the dream I need to go back to. What is nourishing my soul? Whatever that is. I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's drawing mandalas. Maybe it's teaching kids dance. Maybe it's writing your book, because just start it. The writing took me to over 10 years, believe me, to probably 12 years of writing this to get it out there, the longest gestation period in history. And from really sitting down and getting the poetry book done, the mandala meditations, from really sitting down and getting that done and committing to it, took a whole team of women. It was a 12 and 12 project run by Cecilia Dentino, the fabulous Cecilia Dentino, and wonderful Hannah Starobin, who started this group called 12 and 12, because that was their dream. That's what nourished their soul, to help women achieve a project, or at least get it really started and underway in a year. 12 months, 12 projects, 12 women. It was wonderful, one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. So from the time of starting that to actually finishing the book and getting it to the point where it's ready to be published was like 2.5 years. But don't let the timing change you. I think that's the biggest mistake that we make with our resolutions, is we go, oh, well, by the end of March, I will have this done. And this, no. Set the goal. Don't necessarily set the timing for the goal. You want that soul goal to be out there, to be in you, and then you find the pace. You find your own pace for achieving that. I mean, some people can turn out a book a month. A lot of kids authors are turning out book after book. There's a thing in publishing where if you write a book, they want you to, when you submit it, they want you to submit, well, what are the next 2 going to be? We want a group of 3. Well, you know what? That's sometimes not going to happen. I always remember the guy that wrote the book, The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, right? He wrote this book. He was giving it away or selling it for a couple of bucks on street corners in Haight-Ashbury in 1971. You know, he was a hippie. And then somebody thought the book would be great. He published it. And for years, his publishers harangued him to write another book. And he said, I don't have another book. This is it. This is the only book. I think in the 1990s, he did a new intro to it. But that was it. He didn't write another book that made tons of money, because you have to get away from somebody else's goal for you. What you need to do when you're looking at the soul goal, you need to go inside and find out what nourishes you. So that would be my suggestion, to get away from the losing weight concept into the what nourishes me concept. And then the other thing that was so incredible to me is that, everybody's second one is, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get a better job. There's like a million things that people say they want, and that they're going to find a way to save more money, get more money. And then again, we're putting a time limit, certainly getting another job. I'm not sure you can do that with a time limit. But if you go to a place of thinking about what does it mean to be prosperous, to be abundant, and to be in a place where you have realized your true self, your true goal. I really think that one of the most powerful things that we can do is sit with other people, is pray with other people, is to feel that we are in a place of abundance by being in circle and being in prayer with other people. And I think that it's just a very uplifting thing. It's why I do circles. It's why I talk to people who do circles. It's why, next week you're going to hear C.L. King talk about his programs that he did, how he overcame the abuse and the poverty of his childhood to become one of the nation's most sought after motivational speakers. You're going to hear the week after that about his Stay Free program, keeping kids from, not just kids, but adults, from ending up back in jail, back in prison, and the success of that program in North Carolina. But nobody does it alone. You need a team. And that's the thing. I think if we shift the idea that we need more money, more material prosperity, into a more spiritual prosperity, then I think that we can find that we are more fortunate than we think we are. And again, it kind of goes back to that, be grateful for what you have and not worried about what you don't have admonition from the Haudenosaunee, from the Iroquois. What they say is our first instruction as human beings is to be grateful for what we have and not worried about what we don't have. Because if you're always coming from that place of lack, that place where you think you don't have enough, then you probably aren't going to get enough. I mean, for some people, it is definitely motivational. But I think for the people that I admire most, like C.L. King, when I listen to him, when I talk to him, he definitely is motivated. He's definitely out there seeking to help people. And he does things for people that need it the most without charging. Yes, he's a highly paid motivational speaker, and he should be. People should be hiring him right and left. People should be getting his book. His book is incredible. But what he also does is he's of service. And I honestly think that we can reach enlightenment not just by going from the inside. You've got to do it both ways. You've got to come from the inside. You've got to sit. You've got to hear that inner voice. But you can also volunteer. You can also go out and do something for somebody else. And it can be as simple as the little boy that went around with his mom one day downtown. I don't remember which city it was, but he had a whole cart of just water bottles, and he just gave water to homeless people. Water is one of the most healing things that nobody can survive without water. You can survive 3 days without water. Not to mention that in shamanism, it's actually a partner in healing. We meditate on water. We give water. We give offerings to the rivers and the oceans. Water is us. We are 60 to 70% water. So for a little boy to recognize that you can go out and give people a bottle of water, even if you just do it once, even if you're walking down the street and you see somebody's homeless and you give them a bottle of water and you give them a sandwich, even if you pick up, one of the worst things we do is we throw out bottles of water with water in them. Even if you pick up a water bottle, open it up, empty it out so that the water goes back into the world for everybody else. What have we got? I think I read it's like 81 billion gallons of water in landfills. So doing something as simple as that connects you with something outside of yourself. It shows a gratitude for the gifts that the Creator has given us here on this Mother Earth. And I think that when we shift our idea of abundance from the material, just the strictly material, because the more we look at I haven't got enough, then it gets into greed, and then we're in big trouble because that takes us away from each other, it takes us away from the Creator. But if we commit to, instead of criticizing people with a lot of money, instead of criticizing people who have something you want, instead of doing that, if we turn around, get out of that criticism state of mind, and if we turn around and we go, well, what can I do for somebody else? All right, that guy isn't going to do it for me. He's not going to make the sacrifice. What can I sacrifice? How can I tell the Creator that I care? How can I tell another human being that I care? And how does that caring reflect back to me? It reflects back because you feel great when you give, right? Don't we all? And when you give, it's an act of saying, my life is abundant. I can afford to give. I am prosperous. It's the I am. I am is one of the names of God. So I am. So when you say things like, I am fortunate, I am wealthy, I am giving. And then when you act on that, because having faith is not just about talk. It's not just about standing up there giving lectures. It's not just about standing up there telling others what to do and how to do it. True spiritual faith is all about action. And that action should not include criticism of others. You are no better than anybody else. That is a realization that we really need to come to into this world if we're ever going to end this conflict that we see all around us. We have to realize that we are all abundant. We are all gifted. And we are all equal. Not one of us is better than the other. And if you want to feel abundant, start there. Start with humility. Start with counting your blessings, like the old saying goes, right? Because we're all blessed. If you're here, you're blessed. You know, I remember once a native elder telling me that they don't bless people. They don't ask for blessings because they realize that if they're here living on earth with everything that's around us, all the beauty, all the people around us, that have helped us, that guide us, that love us, that make us laugh. That if this is all around us, then we are already abundant. We are already blessed. We don't have to give somebody a blessing because we're blessed. We should understand that we're blessed. So I'm going to close with doing the whole oracle thing, opening the mandala meditations to this poem. This is a little meditation from the poem Beyond Thought, of how the soul can be unbound, to know the precious ancient sound, the soul inside, the soul throughout, this time and space and all about, this soul that breathes inside of you and lets you see what's wholly true. And holy is this inner sight that takes you on this spirit flight, this flight beyond the noise of earth, this flight into a newer birth, delivered into mother's hands. It roars like waves upon the sand and whispers in your darkest night that you are led by crystal light. So, as always, I wish you all another beautiful, wonderful week. And please, please, please go to my website, sign up, MaddieCheers.com. Maddie is MaddieCheers.com. Sign up if you like today's reading, if you'd like to know when the book's coming out or anything else, please sign up there. Thank you. Support the podcast by sharing it on your social media. Let's spread the light together. And please finally carry the peace and the wisdom from this session, from this talk into your day. And once more, thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful, wonderful week. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us for Home Improvement for the Soul. If you'd like more information, please go to womensoneness.com or MaddieCheers.com. That's womensoneness.com or MaddieCheers.com. See you on the next episode.